Election day. As I said, could we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that council set the date of Monday, February 1st, 2016 to hold a by-election and vote on the questions.
Okay. The questions are mayor and fluoride. So I would speak against that motion because I don't think there has been enough information regarding fluoride for any of the electors to make a decision on this. Councillor Long.
I would suggest that we, either through friendly amendment or by withdrawing and going that the council set the date for Monday, February 1st, 2016 to hold a by-election, period. Then we discuss on page 46, 47 the questions. Because if we vote for this now, we're saying in essence that we agree to the questions.
Yeah, I could agree with that friendly.
That's why I give council the options here of taking them both out, or
Yeah.
you know, so you don't have to do the vote on the questions, or won't you pick one or the other?
Yeah, that's the second one, but the motion, the
motion.
recommendation on 45 was to end the vote on the questions.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Ambiguous.
I'm fine
22
with
on the-
amending the motion to just say, council set the date of Monday, February 1st, 2016 to hold a by-election, and then we'll address the questions
Okay.
in an instant.
And should that be plural by-elections?
No, it's a by-election.
By-election.
It's
One
two
by-election.
candidates. Yeah,
Okay.
there were two councillors.
Okay.
All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Long. Or just he knows which one he wants.
That council receives the suggestions for the wording and format of the ballots regarding how to elect a chief elected official, and if fluoride should be removed from the town's potable water supply for information.
Okay, would you like to speak to it? Councillor?
I'll go with one that's near and dear. Fluoride is so important in the water system. And I'm sure that every dentist is cringing right now, wondering why we would even consider doing it when it's proven that it helps, especially for those children who don't have the access to a dentist, who can't afford to go to a dentist. At least they have fluoride in their water. That's a decades-old discussion, and it's an old argument, and I don't know why it's even being discussed when the facts are indefutable. Secondly, when it comes to the chief elected official, the mayor, being appointed from the 7 councillors, any feedback that I've heard thus far has been negative. I have not heard one person come to me and say, what a great idea. And I've talked to people from Falher, because I was told they do this. And it's mixed reviews from the citizens of Falher that I've talked to. Some say they don't care, others say they don't like it. It allows for block voting. It allows for more old boy networking to appoint who's going to be the elected official of the town. And the people are smart enough, and the constituents and the voters are smart enough to elect their own mayor. I don't necessarily buy the argument that it's going to get the best of the best, because again, talking with people at Falher or even the MD or the county, do you feel that you have the absolute best, brightest people on your council? The best, brightest people are running successful businesses and they're contributing to the community in other ways, but they may not be running for council. Whether they get their group to pick a person or whether it's through the people voting for them, they don't necessarily want to run. So I don't think that that's an argument that holds weight. So all in all, but when it comes down to it, I think the people of the community have the wherewithal to vote for who they want. with confidence and make the right choice. And I'll say it again, Socrates says you elect who you deserve. The people are willing to accept that responsibility. And so I let them vote for the mayor. That's all I can say.
Counselor Dinac.
When we were discussing this issue in the heated debates over whether, the best of the best 7, and we had discussed the fact that if we're gonna do this, the way this is set up right now, I can pretty much guarantee that the vote is going to probably be no for the amongst the 7 and fluoride. And as Sharon had said, and I completely agree with her, anybody that I've talked to said there may be benefits to doing it that way, but I need more information. I need to know the benefits. I need to know, why we're thinking of this. What's the reasoning behind us looking at this? I need to know some of the ramifications. I need to know, is there benefits to this? So when you're just gonna throw out a question like this, if people aren't gonna understand what you're asking, and they aren't gonna know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, they're gonna stick with the status quo. So I don't think we've had enough time to formulate and give the citizens of High Prairie enough information to make a valid, conscious decision with all the information that they need.
And does that go with
Yes.
fluoride also?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Panasic.
My thoughts are that the fluoride question, I don't know if you'll ever get, an agreement. I think most people, and it's been to plebiscites in many areas, and I believe that most of them have agreed to keep with fluoride in the water when they've done this, so I don't know if we need to address that question. The other question about the elected official, or the CEO, and that way, I don't know, how much is enough time to get people to think about it? I do agree that, that it hasn't had a good presentation where we haven't put out the pros and the cons for everyone. How much time do people need? When could we put it out? To have that question. I know it certainly stirred a lot of interest in town with people discussing it. And I'm a little bit different than Michael in that I have heard positive comments and people that understand the benefits and do agree with that. And I have talked to people in Falher, different people obviously, but they think that it is a good system. And I have heard people go, I don't care either. So I've had that one from both sides of that. So I don't know. I like asking that question, but if we are going to do it, we have to make sure that in January, early January, we put out as a town the information, the pros and the cons, and let them know. And we would have to lead the debate in getting it out there for people and putting an article into the newspaper, perhaps getting onto the radio so people hear it, put something up on our Facebook site. So all of that information is getting out to people, and then they could make a decision on it. So that's on those two issues, that's where I'm at. But I do have other questions, and I'm wondering, are results of plebiscites always binding? Is that, they're not, okay. Because part of me looks at it and goes, I know, they had the by-election in the county and they had, I don't know how many voters, there was like 100 or something that voted. And I'm going, oh, that's not very many. How many people are we likely to get out for a by-election? You know, and is it gonna be 75 people making those decisions, and, you know, as opposed to getting a better cross-section of people that make that decision? That's my concern about. But if it's not binding, then council could still look at the results, how many people voted, and decide if that was the bulk of the people.
Okay?
By-elections,
No, my turn. Two things. Fluoride, although I would agree that I would have thought the science was settled on that, actually there has been more and more coming out saying that we're an over-fluoride society, because the fluoride is in your toothpaste, it's in your mouthwash, it's in your flossing strings, it's anything in a dental product is now fluorided. You go to your dentist and you get your teeth cleaned, and at the end you're swishing out again with fluorided cleaning fluid or whatever. So maybe we are getting over fluorided, but we don't have the information either yay or nay. I agree that the chief elected official can be voted for by the electors, because I think that that's what people who run for mayor are running for mayor. They're not running for council. So if they don't get chosen, they don't necessarily even want to be on council. So, but in saying that, we don't have enough time in a month to get enough information out into the community, given the staffing that we have now. This would be almost like a 6-month preparation to be to get the question being discussed, to get the information out for the questions that are asked. And I don't think you can do this in a month, and I don't think you can even begin to expect administration to do this type of a campaign, because that's what it is. 2 big questions. It requires a lot of effort and information, and it's almost like if you're going to do this, we should be hiring a communication specialist as a project for the term, a 6-month term, and say, here, you get this on the website, get up the mail outs, do the newspaper ads, do the flyers, do the posters, do whatever you want, but this is the project. Because the normal day-to-day activities of the town are enough for the staff we have. So that's basically where I would be at this. I also, if we put a question out as a question, if we're not prepared to take the answer, I don't know why we would ask the question, because coming back and saying, well, thanks very much, but we've decided we're not taking your answer, is a pretty insult to the people who are being asked the question. If you don't want to come out and make a conscious decision to answer the question, well, then I guess you didn't think the question was that important. But the people who did, they obviously want their opinion taken into effect. Now, we'll go once more around and then we'll vote. Councillor Long?
The by-elections historically, whether they're federal, provincial, or municipal, always have a lower turnout. And again, if there's strong candidates that create a dynamic race, then the people will be interested. If there's 2 or 3 candidates and there isn't enough interest generated, if 45 people vote, going back to Socrates, you elect who you deserve. If 45 people vote, then expect anyone to get it. If 150 people vote for one person and 2,000 vote for another, that's a good turnout. That's a great turnout. But you'll never get that. And so it's unfortunate, but I don't see how changing it to having 7 councillors and then have them vote for the CEO is going to change how many people come out to vote. And I certainly don't see how it's going to entice more people. As the mayor said, I think somebody who wants to lead and set the agenda, hopefully, through their campaign as mayor, they're not going to be satisfied being the councillor, the person who didn't get elected by the peers. any different spectrum of people running for council, in my opinion.
Okay. Councillor Zach?
Again, as I said before, in order to give the citizens of the town enough information so they can make a conscious decision based on what we're asking them, it cannot be done. There's no way. There's just no way it can be done.
Okay. Councillor Panasic?
I will say that I think, you know, we've had, and, you know, I'm gonna say what I would consider good candidates that ran for mayor, and didn't get in, but would have ran for council if they knew they weren't gonna be successful in the mayor role. So we have lost, and I've talked to people, you know, recently that had, you know, lost their run for the mayor's position, and would have liked to have been on council. So we have lost what would have been good people. So that's why I don't mind the idea of the elected official, and in my opinion, if you're only here to be the mayor, you're not willing to serve the community in another capacity, then maybe that, you know, you should be willing to, if you're willing to do the public service side of it, you should be willing to do it whether you're the mayor or the councillor, in my opinion. You're there to work with the community and make the community better. That's both, regardless of which position you're in. So that's my stand.
Okay. Did somebody out there wants to say anything? No? All right. I have nothing more to say. I think we've all expressed ourselves.
Yeah.
So, the question was
To receive for information.
to receive for information
On both fluoride and.
on the questions, on both the fluoride and the CEO's position. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. All right, the institutional voting station.
For the law.
Yes. You wanna make a motion? Councillor Danaka?
The council approved the 3 institutional voting stations to be held at Heritage Manor, Golden Age Manor, and Pleasant View Lodge on February 1st, 2016.
Okay, discussion.
It's pretty self-explanatory. My only other concern was about those people that were hospitalized, if they would be able to vote.
What happens to the hospital? Because I actually thought this was a traveling ballot. It starts at the
It is.
Pleasant View.
And I'm not
For-
sure exactly how much time they spent, whether it was just an hour or.
2 hours is
2
usually.
hours at each residence, so. And I don't believe they went to the hospital
No? Okay.
or to the JB Woods.
They did for the provincial.
Not for the municipal.
No,
I-
never occurred, I don't think.
I believe that for these ones here, you basically have to get up and come to the area designated for the voting. So I don't know if the hospital, and there's so few numbers in the hospital that, I don't know if it warranted, but
I was just curious.
Okay. Councillor Long?
You couldn't take the ballot box to the rooms? If you're gonna be there for 2 hours, for nobody, but if you go to the rooms and allow somebody to use a shut-in to vote, and there's only 5 people in there, that's 20 minutes, you're done.
Well, you're also allowing any of the nurses and doctors that are on site, because this is a traveling
Sure.
ballot box, it's for anybody,
Yeah.
not specifically saying only you can vote here.
I think it's just for residents.
It's just residents,
No?
it's not the staff.
Because the staff are supposed to be designated 3 hours to go and vote. They're supposed to be given that time by the employer to cast their ballot, so it was only for the residents.
Well, I know the province, the attendants voted and the patients
Oh.
voted too, so, but it would be up, I
Regardless.
guess up to the, so you're gonna have 2 additional returning officers.
And you need need to hire them, that would be an extra cost if you did go for the institutional votes.
2, 4, 6 hours? And so it's not an advance poll, it's an actual day on that day?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Panasic?
What's the estimated cost for hiring those returning officers? I don't know what they go for.
I think they're looking at $25 an hour.
$25 an hour for 6 hours, is that the, okay, so that's.
$300.
Yeah, it's not much then. And I know you're, you know, in the lodges anyways, you're gonna get a
A fair number.
fair number of people.
And
on the
including
floor.
the Golden Age and the Heritage
Yeah.
Manor, cause all them people can get out and,
Those ones, they could, the ones in the manors are able to get out quite easily, so they're probably.
Well, they go to the main area, and I believe, I'm not sure if it was the last election or the election before that, they were complaining, the Heritage and the Golden Age seniors were complaining that they didn't have their polling station
In their building?
in their
Like
building.
they would.
They
in-
wouldn't go to, they did go to the lodge, but they preferred it in their building because in February it's icy and they don't like walking at all outside in that ice because of fear of falling. It's very, it's, well, it's, to them, it's a hazard and constantly it's on their mind, so.
Cause wasn't it, at the October election that they didn't have any of the voting stations in any of those facilities, and that really got some of them angry because they couldn't vote in their civic elections.
Okay, so any other, no? All in favor then? It's carried. Heating up in here. It's really, you know, the seniors, we're getting. Okay, the advance vote. Motion? Councillor Tanaka.
The council direct the returning officer to hold an advance vote on Monday, January 25th, 2016, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. in council chambers.
Mr. Martinson.
council is allowed to dictate the number of hours of voting, cause usually like in the regular voting, it's from 10 in the morning till 8 at night. But in an advance vote, I know in other years they've set the times to make it available, and 6 hours should be enough for people to cast their vote.
Actually, I would have thought between 10 and 4.
Or 10 and 6.
10 and 6. 6 because people are getting off work at 5.
Okay.
And what's our hours for the regular?
10 to 8.
10 to 8. So that picks them up too. So we can set different
You can
times.
set times, yes, that's up to council to decide.
So we're going with, right now with this motion with 12 and 6. I actually think you're right. But then,
If you want the most people out, then you have to give them the most opportunity to get it. Vote.
10 to 6, 10 to 6. 8 hours. Councillor Danaka, what do you think?
Well, as Councillor Lum said, if you want people to come out, you have to give them as much opportunity as possible, so I can handle a friendly amendment to my motion if you wanna make it.
You can make it the same as the
10 to
regular
6.
10 to 8 too, if you
Or
want.
10
That's
to-
up.
Cause I mean, there are people who get off work at 6, I don't know how many people actually do the advance poll for civic elections, in a sense.
Have we had advanced polls before?
Yeah,
We have,
Yeah.
okay.
And how many people generally take advantage of it?
not very many.
That's what I'm thinking too, and it, I mean, and then not that it's going to increase the cost much to increase it by another 2 hours, but if I was to look at the hours, I might go from 1 to 7 to give those people that get off work more time. As, you know, just a little bit later in the night, if you get off work at 6, you still have time. And that would be enough time for those 25 people that might take advantage of the advance poll.
my comment is I think 10 to 6 is adequate. We were talking about hiring a returning officer, so that'll be 2 days of work for the returning officer. And who does the other vote, town staff or to help?
Don't know, you'd have to hire returning officers to do that.
He has to be hire returning
Yeah,
officers,
deputy
not out of
returning.
his amount.
Nope.
So we also have to hire, can we use town staff for any of this?
If they're sworn in for.
For the advance poll?
Deputy returners.
Well, let's deal with this then. We're going from 12 till, no, 10 to 6, this is the motion.
My motion was 12.
12 to 6 is the motion.
But the friendly amendment, she agreed to was 10.
Friendly, which I agreed to, okay.
10 to 6. Okay. All in favor?
So,
You're in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
I'm gonna go opposed, just because.
Okay, so that's carried. It's
Let's
gonna
go
be
with
10 AM to 6 PM on January 25th. Now, the next one is the appointment of the returning officer. We have a recommendation here, Counselor Long.
Council appoint Mr. Jim McLean as deputy returning officer for the upcoming by-election and vote on the
No,
question.
just on the, for the upcoming by-election, because we took the questions off.
Right, thank you.
All right. So now the question is, the total cost of returning officer is to cover the following: hire deputies to work at voting stations and appoint deputies. So is that $875 to cover the deputies' wages also?
No, it's not.
It's just to hire them.
That's what it says in the local authorities lecture, what the deputy returning officer duties are.
Okay,
Not, he hires them, but at
We
a
pay
certain
'em.
wage.
The town
Okay,
pays them.
yeah. Meals,
okay. Town pays staff
so you're looking at wages and meals for that
and
day.
meals. And it's running from, what time? 10 till, no,
10 to 8, yeah.
10 until 8 AM,
On
8
election
PM.
day, yeah. But he also looks after it for the advance poll too.
And he does the advance poll too. $875. So that's times 2, right? 2 days?
Yeah.
No, 2 deputy returning officers for the,
That'll be above. So if he does it there, then he only hires one that day.
then
So
he only
goes-
hires one.
He goes himself.
Oh, okay. Okay, so on the institutional one, there's the returning officer and 1 deputy. Okay, and on this one, he gets, how many deputies?
He's probably looking at 6,
6. Get out of here.
2 to go to the lodges.
No, it's supposed to be the same ones.
That's for the advance.
Oh, that's the advanced. Oh, yeah, okay.
2 to go to the lodges for that day, and then he'll need
Because
at
it's the
least
same day.
4 in here. 2 stations in here.
Right, because they have to move, so they're away. They can't use them here because they're gone.
Yep.
And how many here?
You need at least 4 in here. 2 in
4.
each station, yeah.
And we
Yeah,
have 2
2
stations. Why can't we just get Carrier and M2PAC? This would be cheaper.
Could be.
We were just kidding.
Okay, we've got a motion. Councillor Danaka, do you wish to speak to it?
Pretty self-explanatory.
Councillor Panasiak?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I'm wondering, do we have other people in town trained to do this? And is there other people interested, or just the one? And
The only one that when we went back in the records that Jimmy had went with Ed Qualchuk, when Ed run our local election and had the training. So I approached Jimmy and asked him if he'd be interested. He said he would be, but I never looked, and he has a good idea for deputy returning people that he can approach.
we're not leaving somebody out that would be really interested. That was just my question of saying, okay, are we just assigning this because they're, nobody else
You
has
had to
expressed
try and
interest or anything like that? No?
Nobody has, so. But we never advertised it either, I just went ahead and asked.
Who does the county use?
I don't know who they use.
It's, what it usually ends up being is kind of a, I was gonna say almost a closed circle of the ones that get hired to do the federal, the provincial, the
Yeah.
municipal, the federal, provincial, and that, because they take the training enough, and then they move up from poll clerk to deputy returning officer to, or supervisor, and then up through the ranks. So you'll see the same people like Alice Marionansky and, I think Stella Sworry, and they're the same people that,
Probably Finale helped.
yeah, and they slowly kind of, when they're too old, they hand it off to one of the younger ones.
Sharon.
Yes, there's one that is coming in, cause she was at the provincial.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I just didn't want to be leaving anybody out and be accused that, we're just handing out this money to one person and not considering the others, but if there's no other interest and no other people that
I
have done it.
I didn't check to see if there was other interest.
Yeah.
And it
I
didn't
did.
advertise, so.
I didn't, I just went back into our records to find out.
I think Jimmy would do a good
So
job.
this is a
on it.
by-election, let's, on our election, we probably should advertise for the 2 years from now, 2017, probably would be,
For a returning officer.
yeah, for a returning officer and the staffing. But since this is a by-election, I'm a little bit, I'm okay with the appointments. I'm not sure how the rest of you feel.
I'm fine.
Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
All right, then, the, motion is to appoint Mr. Jim McLean. All in favor? All right, next item is the Little Smoky Ski, carried, that was carried. Counselor Knapp.
The council directs administration to send written notification to the MD of Smoky River number 130 that the town of High Prairie is terminating their participation to this agreement by giving 12 months' notice.
This is actually, isn't there two things going on here?
Well, whether or not we want to pay the existing year's fee because they didn't get the notification, and then whether or not we want to continue.
So there'll be
Yeah.
two motions coming out of this request for
Yeah,
decision.
there's-
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is pretty self-evident. We had made a motion the last time, and the CAO let it fall through the cracks, and, the previous CAO. So, we're stuck in this position that we're having to give our 1 year's notice for, by giving 12 months' notice, and we're giving it in December. So when do we actually get out of this agreement?
Next December, you'd pay the $5,000 for this year, and then up to January 1st of 2016, that's when it would end, and then you'd be out.
Okay. And the year runs on a calendar year.
Yeah, but then they'd have to look out for funding from January 1st of 2017 to the end of their ski season, because we wouldn't be covering Canal Park. We're only year to year, so.
Let's see what the agreement says. It's right in here, isn't it? Or
It's
is it
on
just-
section 20 there where they talk about it being year to year after. Comes into effect January of 2008. So basically it starts in January.
So it's a calendar year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Counselor Law, do you have, no? Okay, so, this one and then is to give the notice. Self-evident. Any other questions on giving notice? All in favor? Okay. So the next one is, the council's, I will make this motion. The council support the 2015 operations of the Little Smoky Ski Hill in the amount of $5,000 from GL 2117770 grants, organizations / individuals. And this is the 2015 operations that we are liable for because we did not give the year's notice. Okay, all in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Now, what about the 2016? Are we not liable for that also?
There's a typo in there, I think this was for the
2016?
2016.
We didn't pay the 2015 though, did we?
We have not paid it yet, but with the agreement, the attorney with 12 months notice, we would be
There was
terminating
money,
it until December 2016.
there was money in the budget, but
Well, we mean
this
both
would reflect
budgets.
2016.
It should have been 2016?
Yes.
Can I amend the motion?
Yep.
I'll amend that motion to be 2016. Yes, Treasurer.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Just to be on the safe side, can we put in there 2015 and 2016 operating budgets, and that way we're covered for 2015, it's not in the budget line?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't have any money.
No, so we
in
can put it in there
2015.
just both years,
Yes,
be on the safe side, thank you, Virgil,
and I think, I'm just gonna make a separate motion.
for each one.
So 2015 is covered, and I'm gonna make the motion that council support the 2016 operations for the Little Smoke, no, actually, well, no, we have to pay.
Yes,
We don't have a
we're
choice.
obligated by the agreement.
So I can't send it for deliberations. 2016 operations, the Little Smoky Skid Hill, in the amount of 5,000 from GL, same number, 2177, all those zeros, organizations and individuals. And that is the last 5,000 that we will be paying. Discussion.
I know the letter drafted already.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Duly noted. Library Board, members at large.
I thought this was gonna be easy until we got the amendment.
Copy. Do you this
My
one here?
membership.
Here.
Oh, that's harder now.
Yeah, and then she. So as I spoke to council earlier, if you'd like to vote on it, I have papers here.
Yep, let's vote. That's a better idea.
Just, I guess we should, I don't know what the motion is to get this started here. What are we doing to
Oh,
get things started?
what motion would be? I reckon, well, the motion would be that council, you know, do moving camera for a short period of time, and just decide, and then just do your motion, or do your voting. Prioritize? You could prioritize your choices, and whoever gets the most number ones.
I mean, we can maybe go away from our normal protocols for a second and just discuss it, because, to be honest, I'm not sure who any of these three candidates are. I wouldn't know who to vote for. I could put down two names, but I would like to have the discussion of, if anybody knows them, who they would recommend. I was also looking for help maybe from the library board, if they knew them and would have recommendations, but what I found out beforehand is that they don't really have a recommendation, so for me, it's eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
I think we should move in camera,
Okay,
okay? So
if that makes everybody
You're
comfortable.
gonna move it in camera.
Well, you're gonna be discussing personal aspects of these three
But-
people, or you could just vote. Yes, Councillor Long.
Then it comes down to basically a counselor swinging another counselor on, he said, she said, this person's really good, this person's really good. Oh, you don't wanna vote for that person. We have letters in front of us, and I already know the candidates that I would be choosing. They're all nice people, they're all good people, so I don't think we'll go wrong, but.
I also would agree with what Councillor Long said. Every one of these candidates is a good candidate. So you won't go wrong with choosing two. So there you are, just letting you know.
I mean,
And based on the ads and what was asked in the ads, they, with this letter, they all meet the requirement.
They all meet their requirements, their letters all look identical. They're not identical, but you know what I mean, there's nothing that I can read in this that would sway me one way or another. And I don't know them, so, I mean, because I don't know them, if I threw in a name, it's not gonna help people that know them or have more to vote on would probably be better than me to making that decision.
Well, then, put our two names on, we'll have somebody count out, and whoever gets the most votes, that's who we appoint. Okay? So hand them on.
Okay.
You do it, two, give two each? Is that how you did it? Oh, you are so smart.
Right there. It says must be the current member.
Two of them, the third one isn't.
No.
I'm not saying there's no sheet now.
What?
I wonder how these are.
Oh, so fast you did that. Okay,
He's eating me up anyway.
I go there.
there you are. Want a 5-minute break before we come?
So you wanna take 5 minutes?
Rhonda Cox, one. Yvonne, one. Rhonda, two.
Just pretend you didn't hear that, because the votes should have your public.
Janine Perfect.
Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you.
Andy Perfect, one. Yvonne, one. Rhonda Cox, another. Yvonne, another one. And so it's Rhonda and
Yeah, 3, 3, and 2.
Rhonda and Yvonne, so somebody can make
Oh,
that.
Tanya. I thought it was Tracy.
So it's Rhonda and Yvonne.
Okay, so there's the motion, Rhonda and Yvonne.
I'll make the motion that council appoint Rhonda and Yvonne to the High Prairie and District Library.
So that'd be Rhonda Cox and
Rhonda
Yvonne
Cox.
Sanders.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? It's carried. And I hope you have good board with that.
Hopefully,
See how easy it happens.
Yeah.
All right, next item is the regional water system. We have a letter that is the letter of support requested by the members of the intermunicipal committee regarding support for the water line from Girard to Jussard.
I move that council approve the letter of support for Blue Lake County Regional Water Project.
Discussion on this? None? All in favor? Good letter. Carried. Employee cost of living. This will be a motion on the COLA to approve the cost of living. And I think you all got the email from Brian Panasic, Councilor Panasic, that showed us the graph of the 31 municipalities. Of those, 21 were above 1.5 and 9 were below 1.5. So you're pretty well median on 1.5 or 1.4. Could I get a motion?
That council forward the 1.5 council or cost of living increase to the 2016 budget deliberations. That's
1.5?
1.5, yeah.
Discussion? Councillor Long?
Counselor Hunter would be proud of me. again, in the spirit of trying to toe the line and try to keep our costs as low as possible. Not that I don't respect what the town does and the employees as a team do for this town, but to show people that we're trying our best to keep this tight rein on our budget, I would be more comfortable at 1.4. It's $2,000 that we could apply somewhere else, and yet they still get a raise, so, and an increase, I should say.
Step increase, or they get cost of living
Yeah.
increase, yes, yep. Okay, Councillor Tanaka?
Did they get their COLA last year? They did, and that was, do you remember what it was?
I can't remember what it was.
I think it was 2.
Two?
So the 1.5 does reflect tightening of the belt. Okay.
Anything else?
No, I'm comfortable with 1.5 and take it to the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's, times are tough out there, there's people losing their jobs and everything else, so part of me is going, oh, and I don't know the last time, maybe I'll ask, when was the last time the town did not get a COLA increase? Was it
2009?
in '09?
Pretty sure it was 09.
And I know in the government world, or, you know, the quasi-government, there's quite a few times where I know in the college, we've had times, even going back to the Klein era, where it was rolled back, and then, you know, every increase after that is a little bit, it's never a guarantee. Sometimes you get it, oftentimes you don't. So it is tough, but I also appreciate what the town and all of the employees do, so, and we know that from when we did that, 2.5 years ago with the wage things that were, I don't know if we're still in the sort of the lower third, but we're probably more closer to the middle now, I would think, because we've done the step increases and the steady COLA increases. So that's where my thoughts are on it.
Okay, I'm good with it. I actually, after I looked at your chart, I was fine with,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind being average, one iota. It's not bad being average when it comes to fiscal expenses and revenue. I don't want to be the top of the line all the time. So, we have the motion to refer to budget deliberations at 1.5, all in favor? You got that one through very good. Next one.
Well,
we have to
meaning
accept.
going that it's to budget deliberations, what does that mean? Is it through?
There's been no decision made really, because basically on the
Well, then
first
why
page-
did you say deliberations?
I didn't say.
I did.
Oh, well, he's deliberating.
I think what I would be preferred to see would be an approval of a 1.5% increase effective the 1st of January, and that would avoid any requirement for retroactive pay adjustments, et cetera. If council is happy with the 1.55 or 1.4, then approve it. Other than that, you've made no decision, other than say we defer the decision to the budget deliberations.
Well,
Well,
that's
and
good.
that's what I was
Okay.
saying.
That's average.
Should be like
Do you want to withdraw your motion and make another one?
Well, I'm just wondering what, again, I like having, like I mentioned before, everything in front of me and making those decisions, so,
You're not gonna change this one though, because what are you gonna do, roll it back when you see it in January?
well, no, we haven't said that they're getting it effective January 1st. We've said that we're gonna look at it once we have the whole picture, that's what, so, that's what I was sort of thinking, okay, let's look at it when everything comes in,
My motion
But-
probably should have read the final budget.
the final.
No, I think it should have said we
So
approve
to approve a
it.
1.5 or 1.4% increase
Yes, because
effective
you
the
wanna
1st
start
of
paying it
January,
out
and to
in
include such increase in the 2016 operating
Yeah.
budget.
Too, so.
Okay, we'll take it to budget deliberations, tough luck.
Okay.
You're,
We're dealing with retro pay.
but you'll build it in, right?
It's only the deliberation, so it hasn't been approved yet for us,
But it would be built into the final budget now at this point to be looked at, right?
Based on
Yeah.
our discussions and deliberations from this evening.
It has not been approved for it, so
Yeah.
True.
It could be open to be either removed or taken out, finalized.
Okay, Herb.
I was thinking the same thing. I was so thinking the same thing.
So you'll defer
It's
decision?
the accountant in him.
You'll defer to the decision then?
It's genetics. Don't worry about it.
All right, are you all right with that then, deliberations?
Yeah,
Okay,
they kind of go, yeah, I'm back and forth on it, but.
all right. So next time you can tell your CAO to firm up the motion when you
We'll
see
talk
that.
then.
Instead of prolonging the
I'll send
agony.
Peter to him in the morning.
Okay, the next one is the resignation of Councillor Quentin Apter. Oh, now, just a minute, we're gonna receive it. And then we're gonna advertise for 2 available positions.
So I'll make the motion as recommended that council receive the resignation of Council Quentin Empter for information and direct administration to advertise for 2 available positions on council for the upcoming by-election on February 1st, 2015.
Okay. Any questions, whatever? There was some discussion on how you were gonna advertise.
Through the post office.
And then, of course, I opened the newspaper and I see this big full page on supporting local businesses. And I'm thinking, post office.
We took the prices and I believe what was the cost on the,
The general mail was $114, I believe, or something like that, $96, $114, based on the survey cost.
and you only have to do it once?
Yeah.
Stuff the post office box once, where if you do it and the advertising in the paper, you have to advertise it twice.
You only have to do it once in the post office?
Yeah,
That's what the MGA says?
that's correct.
That's what the local.
If you're
Shane
delivering it to
election
the
acts.
individual, so that he's making sure he's getting it, if you're doing it with the newspaper or some other, facet, he may miss an edition,
Okay.
so this way, the elector gets a copy regardless. What he decides to do with it, it's up to him.
I would suggest you put it on the social media and on our website also.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
gonna do
and
that,
the
and the
yeah,
electronic sign.
Yeah.
That's free.
Okay. All right, then we have a motion for the advertising and the resignation. All in favor? Carried.
Job well done, Quinn.
Yes.
Yeah, wish we didn't have to make that one.
It's too good, councillors, we've lost. All right then, do we have a new chart? Yes, we do. So here is the by-election is February 1st, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 1 month to pick up councillors' appointments until February 9th. Obviously, yeah, because they don't get sworn in until February 9th.
I just made a little note here after I was thinking that councillor appoints an alternate on some of the committees, like if, say, Debbie's on the alternate on the rec board, if you put her on the rec board now, then you have to put an alternate. You have to make a motion to have an alternate in case.
But if she's already on as an alternate, we really don't have to appoint anybody, do we? Because she would then start coming to the meetings.
I suppose.
So anyone that's got an alternate, we can leave until after the election.
That's if council wants it. If you wanted to appoint her, then she would be on
The
on
committee,
the
and the
committee,
next person would
and
be
then
the
you
alternate.
put a name an alternate in the meantime.
Yep.
In case one of you can't make it.
Okay, what about this, so let's start at the beginning. The Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, do you think that's gonna meet?
Probably not.
Who have we got on there?
Just Debbie.
Just Councillor Rose. Oh, and the reason we didn't appoint anybody, cause the last time I asked the question, you said probably won't meet. I don't think we put anybody there. Nope. So, do we want to appoint anybody, or do we want to, take a chance?
I think the only option you had was Councillor Panasic.
I will volunteer just on that very chance that there might be one. I'll step out there.
Usually for the notifications of,
What's that?
it would be very, I said for the notifications for subdivision or development appeal board hearing, meeting, like,
Yeah.
you have to go through the timeframes, and it'd be very close, beginning of February if one ever did come apart.
Yeah, and that's,
So do we appoint, or do we
You
follow
can
an
appoint,
alternate?
yeah, you can,
Do you
well,
wanna-
this isn't, it looks like we're appointing until February 9th when we get our new councillors, right?
yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion. The council appoint Councillor Panasic to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board until the February 9th, 2016 regular meeting of council. All in favor? Carried. All right, what do you want to do about the Hyperion District Recreation Board? Do you want to move Councillor Rose to an appointment? Do you want to move Councillor Long to the Rec Board until February 9th?
I'm not sure that that would be the wisest move, considering, my position is that we should dissolve the rec board, so I don't know how well it would be received. I certainly wouldn't have a problem, I just don't think, it would be all that productive.
I had Councillor Rose as appointed there and Councillor Panasic as the alternate.
I'll make that motion, that council appoint Councillor Rose to the Hyperion District Recreation Board until February 9th. And Brian, Councillor Panasic as the alternate to the Hyperion District Recreation Board.
Okay, so Rose becomes person and Panasic becomes the alternate? Okay. All right, till February 9th, all in favor? It's carried. Airport Commission. Who's we got on there now?
I am,
Quinton
and Quentin was.
Chances are
Um,
3 pence a day.
The alternate was Councillor Rose.
Till February 9th, I'd like to make that motion unless Councillor Danaco, well, when do they meet? In the day or the evening?
We've been meeting at 4:30. So,
I'll take it till February.
February 9th?
but wouldn't we be having, should we be doing these as alternates? Or
No,
as
because
regular?
I'm not sure if
I
Councillor
think-
Danaco wants to stay on as an alternate, or you just want to,
on the airport.
See, and this is just my way of thinking, is that the alternate should be going to the meetings, because that's what they're an alternate for. And then we could be appointing an alternate
In case the two
in
members.
case.
Oh, I see what you're saying, so you're saying that Debbie Rose should be appointed to the airport commission.
Yeah, and you
And
could
I'll
be an
become the
alternate
I see,
until then.
yeah, okay, I get ya.
Because if there's an alternate, it's good that they know what's going on in the future, right? Like,
Yes.
that's the purpose of the alternate, is
Yeah,
to,
okay.
to have an idea of what's going on there.
well, you're overloading Councillor Rose, I'll tell you that.
But I think we're just changing this, she's already an
Yeah,
alternate,
okay.
right? That's not changing anything that's there. I think the motion, in my opinion, and this would be a friendly amendment, would be that council appoint, Councillor Danaca as an alternate to the airport commission until February 9th.
Well, then you've got two alternates, or are you,
Nope.
you've got Councillor Rose is an
Yes, you
alternate
would
now.
have,
She
you'd
would
have
be
two
the voting
alternates.
member now.
Yeah,
So that's why you're going to appoint Councillor Rose as the member,
She wouldn't be the alternate anymore.
so she would be the alternate, and Council Danaca would be the alternate.
Yes.
Yeah,
So now you've
Yeah.
got,
that's the same as the rec board. She's the alternate on the rec board also.
yeah.
Well, and for the next 2 months, maybe, you know, I guess that's a good point. Maybe we just go with the alternate for 2 months, right? And then if you miss one meeting or then you're missing one rep there, cause it's only,
It's only a month.
it's only a month, right? Like
Right.
it's,
So
I
maybe
don't-
not just go with the alternate,
yeah, maybe we just go with the alternate, not vote on
and
it.
hopefully she's there for
On the
the,
airport commission?
yeah. So we're not going to appoint anybody, we're just gonna go with the alternate, because we do have an alternate already
Right,
until February 9th. So,
but, and now I'm just gonna confuse the whole issue again myself, contradictory to what I said, which, the airport commission actually has a meeting tomorrow.
It's a little quick.
I'm just saying.
It's a little quick.
Yeah. And,
what are they gonna be talking about tomorrow? Anything really, really important? You guys have already got the budget done.
yeah. I think it's gonna be what was approved in the budget to make sure everything was approved and what's going in. So I don't think there's anything, just an update on what the upgrades were. So yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any big decisions coming out of that.
So we're only gonna have the town's rep there tomorrow. All right, and then we have,
You just want to leave that one blank then?
yeah, leave that one blank. I don't think we had a motion, did we, on that one? On the airport commission, did anybody start a motion?
Okay, I thought somebody did.
Right. Yeah.
Is that it? Just the three?
Then
No, we got number 4.
number 4 is library. I'll do that.
And
Yeah,
this one?
that's on page 7, yeah.
Oh, I'm missing 71. Actually, not. That's because it's on this side.
Oh.
Okay, Counselor Long.
Council appoint Councillor Long as the alternate to the High Prairie Library Board, February 9th, 2016, regular council meeting of council. Meeting of council.
So Counselor Long will become Long becomes there. And we don't have an alternate. You didn't do an alternate, did you? You just said Counselor Long?
I just read it as it was.
Oh, we're gonna appoint Counselor Long as the alternate. And then, and we just sit there with an
Yeah.
alternate. Okay, alright. Because it was the alternate.
The last
Yes,
3
yes.
were all just alternates.
Yeah,
eh?
okay, got it.
So,
All in favor? Carried. That's an alternate on the library board.
Councillor Bannister will be the last 2 as a deputy mayor now.
Yes, so, well, do you need a motion for that? Because he says
And
the
it wouldn't be
deputy-
until February 9th either, right?
No,
No, it'll be for
No,
the
carried
6
right
months.
through.
So we don't need any motions on those two.
No, and, where is it? See, it's got mayor and deputy mayor, so
Yeah.
he's already appointed,
Yeah.
so we don't need any more on that one. Do you want a break?
Is it mayor and deputy mayor?
Or.
Or,
Or.
it just says and as opposed, so that's why I was
It
wondering
should
if
say
both-
or. And we're taking a break because we've lost quorum.
So yeah, that's probably
There
one
was a
thing they should
plebiscite
address
in the
on
late
that.
1980s, if you remember, the council snubbed their nose at.
The what?
There was a plebiscite in the late 1990s that council snubbed their nose at. Parking on the highway.
Oh, I remember